Hello, this is Lani with Broken Shell Stamping, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Today I am going to show you how I figured out how to do the Take a Bow or Take a Bow die set. I didn't get the bundle, but I did get the die cut. It's on page 39 of the mini catalog. And it's item number 164-102. I actually wrote it down over here. The die was actually like surprising to me when I saw how big it was. I thought maybe more scraps, but I'm gonna work on that in future videos. So I played with this a little bit, kind of like some other demonstrators have mentioned, like Janice, just play with your stuff. And so I took it out and gave it a whirl. This was the second attempt of making the bow the way they show in the catalog. It actually has two more, which they're right here. So this would be your final bow. But for some reason I kind of liked it just like this. So if you wanted to do all the edges with it like that as well, you can do that. And I apologize for my voice. I've been sick, so that's why I haven't got my other video completed yet. So we'll keep this to the side. Now I used a brad. So I found, these are just these old brads that I had. I would actually prefer one that has more of a poke. It's pretty rounded. But I found, rather than just gluing it, the brad makes it a little bit easier to put it together. So if you have something else that you could just adhere or assemble the bow on, you can do that. So I jimmied up this on the craft mat. I just put some tape and stuck it up to help do that. So that was to show you there. That's getting ahead of the little steps, but that's going to be how I assemble it. At first, I assumed that you just needed this to make the bow. I wasn't actually counting the rings or the ribbon pieces to the example in the magazine, in the mini. So I assumed it was just one, but you have to do two. So I used the Joy of Christmas retired stamp paper and cut it in half. It's a 12 by 12 cut in half. You could do 6 by 6 if you wanted, because this die cut will fit on a 6.5 or 6 by 6 piece of DSP. But in this case, I was like, well, I'll use the whole piece instead of cutting each one. And it actually came out with something kind of neat, and I'll show you that here in a momentarily. So to save time, I went ahead and die cut already, but you're going to take this and you can use either side that you want for your decorative area. And you're going to put it down here and run it through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss to get the pieces. So you're going to do that twice. You're going to do it this side here, and then I turned this around and did it like this. I didn't even know that I did that, and what happens, so here's your extra pieces. Not much left of the paper, but you have this, which I thought was kind of cute, because it could almost be two cats, but I just cut it down. Well, I mean, I guess that could be a little tail, but it just kind of looked like a cute little image that you could have like a little cat, just draw a little face on it. And then the other part is this kind of neat little border, which I'm going to put a card together to match this bow in another video. So I will demonstrate that as well. But if you just kind of trim it down, then you've got this kind of neat little border that you could use as a decorative element. Always trying to make extra things in here. So I'm gonna set my little cat aside, and I will start with the assembling. So once you run it through the machine twice, you're going to get 6 of the big ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see that. 6 of the big ones, 4 of the middle size, and well, this is actually an extra. You're going to get 2 of the smallest one because I've only been using 1, and that's going to be this part right here. To save a little time, I'm going to go ahead and just show you 1, and then I will come back with all of them glued. So I figured gluing would help a little bit easier. So what you do when you take the strip, depending on which side you want on the inside, I like the green on the outside better. So you kind of just this way. I have to do it again here. So there you go. Okay, let's try this again. So you kind of bend it in half and you fold the edges down here. Now I lined up, let me see, make sure you can see that. So there's the little angles there. So I just lined them up so it makes a point. So this is the big side of your bow, although I want to call bow. So you want to have it look like that. And then we're going to assemble all of these. So what I did is once I got that down, I kind of just let it pop up. I put just a little bit of green glue right here. And then put it back down, and you're going to line that back up with the edges to make that little point right there. So just hold it down for a few minutes or a few seconds, and then set that aside and let it continue to dry. Excuse me. Again, take your other pieces, fold it down, match those sides together. I like to do it first to kind of get the paper shaped a little, and then put the adhesive down. You only need a little bit because it's just going to be a placeholder to keep your ribbon a little bit more together, or your bow. I'm still going to want to take a bow. So once you kind of get that down, it's pretty easy and they come together pretty quick. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue the rest of these, and I'll be back momentarily. Okay, now that you've got them all assembled, now the last little bow here, or the little ribbon to this part of the bow, I don't do anything to it yet, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Now, I don't have the Pierce mat. I haven't had, we don't really use a lot of brads anymore, which makes me sad. I'm still a fan of brads. So I have this old foam mat and my makeshift poker, which is a wine cork with a large needle jabbed into it. But I'm probably going to get a better, that's my dog walking around. I'm probably going to get a better poking tool now that I've got something like this. So I went ahead and well, I didn't pre-do it here, but I feel like it makes it go faster if you just puncture it. It was first just poking it as I was assembling it. It was much easier once I just poked a hole in all of it rather than trying to do it each as I was assembling it. So I kind of just, and you can use your mat here too. I just put the poker at one of the thick line, the corner edge on the thick line there, and then just go up about a 1/4 inch on the square, and then just poke a hole. Kind of did a little, my brad's a little thick, so I made it a little bit more wider so I can fit the brad in once it's time to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and poke that. I'm going to speed this up as well so you can see as I get each one of them done. Okay, as you can see, that was pretty simple. For the last poker, so I took my middle, this is again going to be your middle little ribbon. So you can do right at the edge, or you can kind of match those two edges together to complete a whole loop. But I kind of felt it was still a little too big. So what I did was I poked 2 holes just to kind of give me a guide. And again, I lined the bottom up to the thick line, and then I went up about 1/4 inch, and then I went up 1/2 inch just to kind of give me a base of where. So you want to do the one end on this one and then the other. So this one I only put 1 hole on this side. And I just kind of eyeball it. It really doesn't have to be perfect because it's a bow. So I'll set my tool aside. And now back with the brad here. So this one's got a really rounded edge. I don't really like them. They're just what I had. So I didn't have anything to set it in. So I just used tape on the craft mat because it doesn't stick, and it'll be easy to just pull it right off. So we start with the first 2. Now, you don't have to use all of the big ones. It's kind of how you want the bow. Like I mentioned here with the bow, it looks really nice just like it is, but you could have those extra 2 pieces right here. So essentially you're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 of the large ones if you're going to do it that way, or it will be 4 and then 4 and 1. So it's however you kind of want your bow to look. And it's got this on the bottom, which you could easily tie some twine or something to adhere it, or just tape around there. I'm not quite sure. I'm still using these as a startup for my Christmas bows. My son loves bows, and he doesn't think a present is a present without a bow. So we're going to start with the big ones. I kind of got them a little bit mixed, but it's okay. They're very easy to decide. You could easily tell which ones are the sizes. So you're going to have 4. Let's see, I don't know if you can see. There's the 4 of the middles. So there's 4 right here. Your single middle one right here. And then now we have either the 4 or the 6 of the big ones. So I'm going to set 2 of them aside for now and just focus on the 4 and the 4. So you start down by poking the brad right through the hole. It's a little hard. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see a little bit better here. So there's the hole, and then you just go ahead and stick it right there on there. Now, if you want to put a little glue, you probably could. I like to be able to move my bow pieces, so I'm just going to go ahead and now you assemble the bottom there, then the side, and kind of push down a little bit. And now we've got the next one. I just push it down to get it as far. So now we've got our outer edge of the 4. And now we have our inner edge. Now these are a little bit more trickier to kind of maneuver. The bow is going to be totally okay if you squish it down. Especially with this DSP, it works really well. And what you can do when you put it on there, like this hole's a little small. How do you make it? So the nice thing about this is you can move it around. So if you don't like where it's at, you can still kind of reposition it. So there's that one. Now we've got the one here. So just kind of position it where you want. And the nice thing about this craft mat, you can turn it around and work from the top again if you're more comfortable with the top. find that piece on the brad. There we go. And again, you can kind of maneuver it a little bit. I know my poker is such a weird thing. Alright. Okay, so now we've got our 8 pieces, and I'm just kind of pushing down. You can see that tape really holds it there pretty well. So there's almost all the bow. And now we have the last one. So what I did, I didn't put any glue on this one. I just simply rolled it around, because the nice thing about the brad is since it's coming up this way, it's going to hold this in place. So I used the single one first. So there's the 2 holes on this one. It might need to be a bit more visible. There, you see that better? Oops. There's those 2. So I put it in the shorter one just for figuring it out. And then you're going to loop this one down and find it's from this angle you can see it. So if you're looking at from my angle, I'm not sure if the video shows it, but you can see where that brad is at. So you can push it right back down on there. Now if I let go, it starts to pop up a little bit, but it still stays down. So now, thanks to this tape, it pulls right off your craft mat. Let me back out of here a little bit. So now we're left with just our tape. If you could see the brad in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it. Just take, if you can't use your fingernails very well, a really good tool, and I forgot that I had this poker tool, is right here. Silly me. I could have used this instead of my crazy wine bottle one, but for some reason I've had this for so long, I always go to it first. I love this part to help on the take your pick to pick up things. And I use the embossing part of it. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So you want to split your brad in there. So if you could see right in there, it's folded, and that bow is not going anywhere. And the nice thing about the tape, at least when I don't stick it together, I have really cheap tape because I just don't use the good stuff. And you can just pull it out, and there. There's your bow. And again, you can kind of move the little pieces around to however you want it to look. Now, if you've decided to use the bigger ones as well, it's not too difficult to open the brad back up and then assemble it. I'm not going to do it because I actually really like it the way it is. Even so, if you don't feel like taking it all the way apart, you could easily glue it down here. But I found it really awkward to try to attach it to the middle because it sticks down so much. But if you wanted to give that a try, you could. The holes would go right around there, and so they would kind of push it up a little bit. You can try and do it like this way, where I put just the tape as far away and then stuff that one under there. You can always use another brad too if you wanted, or just glue it on there. But I liked it just like this. So there's the bow. I hope that helps. I was a little confused when I first opened that up, and I'm going to keep playing with it, and I might do another video for an update. You could also put a little bit of Wink of Stella if you wanted to shine your bow up. It's one of the things I thought about if we have it in stock. It's been out of stock for a while. I have to check. But if you just brush a little bit on the top of your bow, or even highlight the edges, just to give your bow a little pizzazz. I still want to call it a bow. So, lots of different options. If you could imagine my kid, he is 8 years old, and the first thing he wanted to do was have my first bow, which I gave him. So there you have it. You could use either side. I chose the green side, but the inside's kind of pretty, being red too. I didn't get the designer series paper because I was just trying to get what I could afford, but it will be probably on my next order. This is the paper that could go with it, and it's the 6x6, so it'll be a lot easier to maneuver. But it's kind of nice because now that you have this paper, you can use it for a card. So I would get some cardstock out and make a card right now, but I'm going to go ahead and end this video. But I will show you some examples on how I would use the scraps that I didn't use in a card. If anything, you can just set that part on top of a card and even try to use our fun little shapes here from the leftovers. You can even put this way. We could use the little kitty cat shadow. Kind of lots of little ideas that you can use with the scraps from this when you cut it out of a 12 by 12 piece of paper of DSP. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.